If you're still using webcams on your laptop like this, your colleagues hate you.
This video is sponsored by me. If you're into PC gaming, PC technology, and want to stay informed on the latest hardware, software, news, and reviews, go ahead and click that subscribe button.
How's it going out there, YouTube? This is TheGrayingTech, and today I'm going to tell you the 3 things you need to focus and pay the most attention to when you are trying to do webcam and web conferences from home. Okay, to start off, we're going to cover webcams themselves. You need to get away from using a laptop webcam. You are doing your colleagues all a disservice because of the horrible angle that those laptop cameras basically sit up the nose.
Now, I know I said do not under any circumstances try to use your company issued laptop to webcam. But if you have to, get something like this. This raises the laptop up to a proper height. You can put a mouse and keyboard in front of this and be much more comfortable actually recording and showing on camera. You're not going to be able to improve the overall quality, but at least you can adjust the angle so that it looks a bit more proper.
And it's just not good quality. You're not presenting yourself as well to your colleagues as you potentially could. So invest in a quality webcam. What I have here in this shoot is 3 separate cameras all recording at the same time. I have a 1080p, I have a 4K, and I have my vlogging camera. Each of those is going to be connected to a different audio source as well, because that's the second top we're going to cover right after this. So first, let's go over the webcam. Webcam is extremely important because it is what is capturing you. Setting it up, dialing it in, getting it the right white balance, getting the right color saturation, the right brightness, the right contrast, all of that is very important of presenting yourself in a manner that your employees and your colleagues are going to be very happy with. Okay, while that guy is switching back and forth between a whole bunch of other things, I wanted to cover a little bit more about what the 1080p and the 4K webcams can basically do, right? So you've already been able to see the vlogging camera gives you great exposure, great contrast, and good color accuracy, but this is the 4K. I noticed a lot during the video in post-production that the blue background was really giving this scene a very bluish tone. And so this is me attempting to dial it in just a little bit better. I still have the key light right up there and I'm still getting a very orangey kind of contrast. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of these kind of webcams. So if you are having that issue, you can adjust the white balance a little bit in order to kind of dial it in a little bit better. Now, I know my key light is 4500K. Even when I put my auto white balance at that number though, I'm still a little more washed out. You can see it doesn't quite get dialed in exactly where I necessarily want it to be, but it also doesn't look like this, which is kind of where it's auto white balancing towards. So dialing this in just a little bit more can give you kind of a better sense. Now this Brio from Logitech, I think is a pretty good webcam. It's $200 and I'm actually going to do a 5-minute review just on the webcam itself. But the 4K compared to the 1080p, I think you can see there's a significant difference and the price difference here is like $60. So if you can find the 4K model, you're going to have a better overall presentation, a better overall experience for your users. You get also several other features with this 4K version, such as field of view, and you can see I can zoom in kind of with just the field of view option. You can also manually zoom in, just like this. So you do get a lot of options with this camera here. Let's see, 200%. There you go. Look how grainy that looks. Doesn't that look lovely? All right, we're going to reset that. Okay. The other item that I noticed I didn't necessarily have on was this autofocus. So I tend to like to manually focus my webcam simply because if I do something like this, and you actually saw that with the vlogging camera a little bit, when I do something like this, it kind of freaks out a little bit, right? Where it's trying to figure out where exactly you are. So here, that was with it off, this is with it on. You can see everything kind of starts to move around and you get that weird fuzzy effect. So if you set this to autofocus,
and just dial it in just right, you should be fine as well. So I try to dial in my auto white balance or turn off auto white balance and dial in white balance and focus, because this is a set scene. This is where I'm always more or less going to be, and I know where the lights should be and how everything should be set up this way. You do have options for adjusting contrast and sharpness and brightness. I normally don't mess with those too much. I think the default is more or less just fine. I do just try to balance in a little more white balance and make those kind of adjustments as I see fit. All right, back to swapping between all of these different audio sources and webcam sources.
So the next thing I'm going to go over is the audio. This right here is the lavalier, and this is what I sound like there.
This right here is the boom mic. That's what I sound like there. And then if I get really close to this microphone right here, this is what I normally do my voiceovers with. So you can see the differences between the different kind of audio, and all of this is not processed. So all of this is how it would naturally sound. You can even add further processing on top of it in order to get the sound exactly the way that you want.
So now I'm going to repeat a common phrase. Mary had a little lamb. That was the lavalier.
Mary had a little lamb. That was the boom mic. Mary had a little lamb. This was me getting closer to the condenser mic.
Never just use your system audio. Nobody likes it when somebody's using their laptop audio. Sometimes you can even hear the echo
of your own voice with that setup. You can hear typing on the keyboard. You hear all of the background and all of the noise that's going on behind them. At the very least, get some earbuds, like a pair of Samsung Buds or a pair of Apple earpods. One of those two.
Get one of those, and that's going to help improve your audio experience. But if you can, get yourself a proper boom mic and put that mic
as close to your mouth as you possibly can. Being closer to a microphone gives you a proper effect that lets your voice actually transmit in a way that is much more pleasing to pretty much everybody I've ever run into. So if you can't do those things, ask your company and your employer, hey, I need a better webcam.
I need a better microphone. What's going on with my solution right now just is not cutting it, and I need something better in order to present myself better as I'm working from home, as we're doing this whole COVID thing, or if you're just going to become full-time remote.
Speaking of becoming full-time remotes, a lot of employers are offering stipends to go full-time remote or to go remote more often and essentially just have kind of drop-down stations at the main office. If they're giving you that stipend, try to focus that money on chairs and desks, less on cameras and microphones, because a lot of companies' IT departments have noticed this trend as well, and they are trying to make sure that they are getting the proper equipment to employees. So ask for, in addition to those stipends, money for a webcam, money for audio equipment. Third topic. This one is extremely important, but in order to do it right, I got to do something else.
Okay, third topic is lighting. Depending on which camera I'm using, you may or may not be able to see
the little bit of ambiance that's coming from different places in this room here, but for the most part, I have a completely dark room. I have a tremendous advantage of being able to set up my lighting exactly how I want it and how I think presents best here on camera. However, you might not have that particular benefit. And because of that,
you need to take into consideration the blinds that you can put up to block windows and to block light coming in. Please, I beg you, I've been this person on the other end. If you have a light source behind your head and facing the camera, cover it. You need a blind, you need a blanket, you need something. It is horrible to be on the other end of a Zoom call and having somebody's sunlight just beaming right into the camera. It's just inconsiderate. Fix that. The other element of this, of course, is if you control the lighting, you can control the appearance of the scene. And what I mean by that is you're able to put lights in certain positions and get certain effects.
I have what I consider a key light right here. I have a side light right there that's giving me a decent bit of shadow. And on This camera, it actually shows up relatively okay, but the 4K and especially the 1080p, I know struggle to try to pull in enough light. In fact, let me show you what happens when I turn the monitors on. So I have both monitors turned on and my two lights that I previously mentioned, and I get a more washed out effect. Now this isn't as bad as if I were to say just use my laptop and I go from a dark scene to a white scene and all of a sudden it just blasts me with a bunch of white light. That's not at least occurring, but you can be in a situation where the lighting source that you're providing just does not look right. And this particular setup, I don't like the way that the light looks. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't look filled in. It looks like a basement, which is exactly what it is. So let's see what happens when we add in a little bit more ambient light. Okay, so that I added a few extra pieces of light that are shining off of what is essentially a softbox behind us here, as well as off to the side. That balances out the scene a little bit more, that gives a little bit more depth. And then, and this is kind of bonus tip number 4, what happens in the background is just as important typically in what happens in the foreground. If you can use a green screen, absolutely use a green screen. You can show tremendous personality by doing that. I've had even senior vice presidents comment at my employer about the things that I've shown in the background. I've also gone to kind of a true background setup here because I've been doing a lot more streaming and video recording. So I've been adding in additional personal elements and showing that even in my work videos, and people are responding to that as well. And that's another opportunity for personalization. So let's see what happens when I add just a smidge of color. So you can see now I have a more visually pleasing kind of an environment. The nice blue background, I'm very separated from the background. I'm able to present myself and I can show that I took the effort to basically frame a scene for my presentation. If you're on camera a lot, this is exactly what you should be doing. You should be presenting yourself as well on camera as if you were actually in a presentation in the office itself. So you can see with different microphones and different layouts and different structures, you can get different quality audio. And when you pair that with a 1080p or 4K or even a vlogging camera, which by the way, a lot of manufacturers have started to create software that allow you to use your vlogging cameras as a webcam, you can really present yourself in a very professional manner and people will take notice of that and probably respond accordingly. You're going to be on more video kind of content. You're going to have that chance to connect with more people, and in an executive presentation or very high pressure kind of situation, just showing your face on camera and having that good audio experience can put you one step ahead of pretty much everybody in that presentation. So it's very important. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.